Welcome to the Brown Bag Parenting Webcast. I am your host, Quadia Amin. This podcast unpacks modern parenting and empowers caregivers with the parenting skills that enhance child and family well-being. This podcast is brought to you by Delaware State University's Cooperative Extension. During today's podcast, we will be talking about fun and almost free family activities. We have as our guests a 4-H educator and a local librarian. Families who share everyday activities together form strong emotional ties. Studies have found that families who enjoy group activities share a stronger emotional bond as well as an ability to adapt well to situations as a family. Our current pace of life as a result of COVID-19 offers lots of opportunities for good old family bonding. If you're like me, you've reached your limit on kids, TV shows, and movies. Our guest, Dean Purnell, is a Cooperative Extension 4-H youth program educator in Sussex County. He is going to share with us easy and inexpensive science projects that you can do with your children at home. So let's get started. Welcome, Dean. Please tell us a little bit about 4-H.
Thank you, Quadia. 4-H serves to provide activities for youth in the following areas: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, also known as STEM, citizenship, and also healthy lifestyles. I happen to specialize in the area of STEM, although the activities that we do, we often tie together some citizenship activities, how to actually survive in the communities that you live in, and also some healthy living activities go along with it as well. So it really is a holistic approach, even though STEM seems to be at the forefront.
Okay, perfect. As we all know, parenting during the pandemic is quite difficult. However, research shows that children who spend time with their parents participating in activities together build a positive sense of self-worth. Family activities don't have to be expensive to be meaningful. The importance is sharing and spending quality time together. What activities can you recommend to parents, Dean?
All right, so I'll begin with where I always begin with all of our STEM activities. We always begin with materials that the kids are familiar with, things that they can pronounce, things that they've seen before in their kitchen cabinet. So I'm going to begin with some of my information here, and we're going to start with this slide. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go back to the beginning here. Oops.
Oh, no worries. It happens all the time.
I don't know. I really. Oh, I see what happened. You're not able to see my screen currently.
Nope, we cannot see your screen.
Okay.
All right. You've started sharing. Perfect. Now this looks fun.
Okay.
And things that I have at home.
So we're going to start.
Yeast.
Absolutely. These are things that you can find, although some of these items at times have been in short supply during the pandemic. But we have hydrogen peroxide, which we're used to seeing as an antiseptic that often is used on cuts. Some don't recommend it. Some do recommend it. We're not going to discuss the merits of that today.
Okay.
We've got instant dry yeast, which most are familiar with. Even if they haven't used it, they understand that yeast goes into bread to make it rise. We've got baking soda, which some are familiar with. I often have students say, yes, I've used it to brush my teeth on occasion.
Yes.
It's a product of many, many uses. And we've also got some distilled vinegar. So we're going to fast forward here to the next step. Hydrogen peroxide plus yeast is going to give off oxygen bubbles. Hydrogen peroxide on its own is somewhat unstable, and it's constantly trying to break down into water and oxygen. And yeast comes along to help speed up that process. So that's a chemistry lesson all in its own. Baking soda and vinegar is classic. Kids love to do this. They love to make volcanoes with this particular chemical reaction. When you add baking soda, you get all these carbon dioxide bubbles. You can even add some food coloring to it to make it look red like it's a lava coming out of a volcano. Kids absolutely love this one. And, you know, they even can help clean up the mess on occasion.
Absolutely.
So we're going to So we've got a short video here that we're going to examine what happens, the difference between these two reactions. And so I'm going to play this, and you'll see I'm going to pour some vinegar into the baking soda, and we'll see that classic reaction that kids love so well. And of course, the more vinegar you pour in, the more reaction you get, and you can actually overflow the sides of the jar. I didn't want to do that today because I wanted to limit the cleanup.
Yes.
We're going to add some hydrogen peroxide to this yeast. Now, the reaction that we get with hydrogen peroxide in yeast is a little bit different than the reaction you get when making bread. This one gives us these lovely oxygen bubbles. When making bread, the yeast is able to consume the sugar and water and turn that into carbon dioxide bubbles, which allows the bread to rise. Now, in this instance, we're going to actually demonstrate how each container has a different chemical makeup. We've got carbon dioxide in one, and we've got oxygen in the other. Well, carbon dioxide is a great fire extinguisher. It puts out fire. We have a lot of fire extinguishers that are actually CO2 fire extinguishers. And so we talk to kids about fire safety quite often when we do these kinds of experiments. But oxygen is not the same as carbon dioxide, even though they both contain oxygen. And we'll see in this last one where we actually get it to work. We put the fire out, and we've got enough of a spark that the oxygen reignites the flame. Oxygen is very flammable. It's the reason we see it on the canisters when folks need oxygen to assist with their breathing. And the biggest thing that we see on the label of those is no smoking.
Yeah.
And so this illustrates that very reason why. Pure oxygen is very flammable. So I'm going to stop sharing here because that's the video that I've got. But I want to talk a little bit about carbon dioxide and baking soda and baking powder. And these are things that families can do on their own in their kitchen. You've got plenty of time on your hands. Hopefully you're making some things in the kitchen that maybe you haven't made before, or maybe you've made it 1,000 times and just want to be able to do something a little bit different. So what does that carbon dioxide from the baking soda or baking powder do? Well, it helps the dough to rise in quick breads like pancakes and biscuits. So an experiment that you can do is take your favorite pancake recipe, and where it calls for baking soda or baking powder, and we'll talk about the difference here in a second.
Dean? Looks like we may have a little lag. Thank you for your patience, folks. We'll wait for Dean to come back. Marie, are you still with us?
I am, yes.
Okay, let's see what happened to Dean. The screen is frozen.
It is.
All right, we're going to take a brief pause and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, folks. So please tell us a little bit more, Dean.
Well, the biggest difference between baking powder and baking soda in recipes is baking soda is going to require an acid to activate. Something like vinegar, lemon juice, sour cream, buttermilk. That's going to activate the baking soda to do its thing and release the carbon dioxide bubbles. Baking powder is usually effective with just moisture and heat. So you've got some type of liquid in the recipe, and once it begins to heat up, the baking powder will begin to react and create those carbon dioxide bubbles within the batter to give it that body. And so it's neat experimenting with this with your kids to be able to visually see the difference, even seeing if there's a bit of a taste difference, which one is more palatable, and being able to do those things. You can even turn those into science fair projects. If you're going to turn something into a science fair project, you have to have a hypothesis of what you think is going to happen. You have to have a control and be able to show the difference of what you experimented with, what were the results, and how did that match with what you thought would happen in your hypothesis. And so I know we're not actually doing live science fairs right now, but science fair projects can be done and create little, even small folders or small things that can be put online, shared with friends, to create your own virtual science fair.
That is a great idea. I love that, a virtual science fair. All right, so parents, you have to be up to the task, and most importantly, please always conduct these experiments with you or another adult supervision.
Absolutely. And then the page that you have up are some links to some other ideas that you might find time to do, such as tree identification. There's an online tree identification guide. It's interactive. We're surrounded by trees, and it's, very often we look up and wonder, well, exactly what kind of tree is that? Well, take a leaf, take a look at it, use this interactive guide, be able to identify some of the trees that are in your neighborhood or in your yard. And then there's a whole list of science experiments with Steve Spangler, great resource. A lot of these experiments range from very elementary to very complex. And so you can choose the one that fits your needs best. And then there's an article that lists 20 learning activities for kids. One of these things that was curated by a group during this time to provide some resources for families that are looking for things to do.
And as we all are, isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Dean, for your time and expertise.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
If any of our guests did want to contact you, can you share with us your email address?
Sure. It's dpurnell, Purnell, @desu.edu.
All right. Thank you so much. And we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back.
All right.
And our next guest is Marie Cunningham, with the Delaware Division of Libraries. And as a librarian, of course, Marie loves reading. However, what she enjoys the most is sharing and talking about all of the wonderful free activities available through the Delaware Division of Libraries. Marie has worked in libraries over the past 25 years, so she is certainly an expert. Marie, please share with us, how have the Delaware libraries adapted to COVID-19?
Well, the libraries have done an awful lot. Certainly, it came as a surprise to them, and they had to shut down quite quickly. But I do have this question to ask. Are you seeing my screen or only my PowerPoint? I cannot hear you.
I am seeing your screen and your PowerPoint.
Okay, I've got to get rid of that screen. So please, I'm going to stop sharing.
Oh, no, take your time. Believe you me, we all get it.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm excited to have you on because since I've been home, obviously I've been reading more. That's what I kind of tasked myself with, and I enjoy Overdrive. Currently, I'm listening to Michael Strahan's Wake Up Happy as an audiobook. My son loves Hoopla, which I know you're going to talk about. And I've been reading magazines on Flipster. So I have always been an advocate and supporter of the library. So I'm just happy that you were able to participate with us today.
Great, thank you. And I do apologize. I thought I had this down pretty well, but apparently.
Oh, I'm sure you do, Marie.
Okay.
It happens. Don't you worry.
We're gonna get it.
There you
Okay, this is
go.
better. All right,
Oh, that
thank you
looks
very much.
great.
Thank you very much for your patience, everybody.
No worries.
Okay. So what have libraries done? How have they
Yes.
adapted to COVID-19? So it came quite suddenly, and the shutdown was quite sudden. Luckily, libraries did have a number of resources that are available virtually anyway, and had begun to get much more acquainted and increase their offerings of virtual online programming and things of that nature. So even though it was a big shift, they were not poorly poised to really inject it fully charged to still be able to deliver services, whether they be downloadable things, which I'll explain in just a minute, get started, but also programming and other kinds of services. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure and honor to be here. So without further ado, I think we will get started. And please, Wadia, if you have a question, don't hesitate to stop me and ask me as I get on with this presentation.
Okay.
All right, so libraries. We have to remember that libraries belong to us. Libraries is really a forum of the people. It's the people's house, so to speak, of ideas. And it's where we get ideas, it's where we develop ideas, whether we hear them, we read them, we listen to them, all kinds, watch them. Libraries have performing arts programs, I mean, all kinds of things. And so we ask, what can libraries offer us and our families, especially now during this time when we tend to be housebound and much of what we would like to do is not available to us.
Yes.
So we know libraries have always had books. Books for all ages. We love books. We love to look at them. We love to read them. And libraries are full of books. Libraries also have magazines. Magazines, I think, offer a very nice change of pace. It's reading material. But even though we do have picture books, we think of that primarily for young children, but you know, there are adult picture books as well. But magazines offer the variety of pictures, illustrations, articles. They'll even have maybe a little comic in there. They're very interesting. And of course, you can pick up and put down a magazine if you only have a couple of minutes to read something. Libraries also have DVDs. We know we like to watch our shows, whether they be just for fun or maybe they're informational documentaries. Our children enjoy them. Our parents enjoy them. We all enjoy them. We also have CDs. CDs for music. There are also CDs, books on tape. I shouldn't say tape anymore. I'm showing my age.
Yes.
Right.
We got you.
Right. So we also have CDs. Libraries also have computers, special programs, and online resources, which is really going to be the thrust of what I talk about today. We're going to focus more on the online, what's available virtually. Okay. So in order to access the library, since you can't walk into a library right now, there is a website. The website to reach it is lib.de.us. And the page will look, it's not exactly like what you're looking at, because sometimes it changes, and there are some of those that flip, you know, but it will look pretty much like that. If you notice, there is the bar going across. You can barely see it, I know, but it says home, catalog, e-media. Okay, so if you click on each one of those, they will bring a drop-down menu from which you will choose another choice that will take you more directly and specifically to what it is you're looking for. So you need to familiarize yourself. And you know, if you forget the lib.de.us address, just go to Google or any other search engine, and in the search box, put Delaware Libraries, and you'll find it. Okay, so in order to take advantage of online resources, for most of it, not all of it, and I'll get to that, but for most of it, we do need a library card. These are some of the cards that are available. You'll see that we have over on the left-hand side, it says the card. That's just a general card for everybody, adults, or there are some children who have that card, teens. In the upper right-hand corner, is the youth card. The youth is for birth through 5. Now, there are restrictions on that card. However, there are also benefits, one of which no fines on items. So something to consider. And then, of course, there's a teen card. And the teen card also has some other things sort of associated with it. But the card that, oh, and let me also say, there's the educator's card and a couple of others. But you'll find that information online when you go to the website. And I don't want to take up our time now with talking about that. But the card right now that we're mostly interested is the online card. The online card can be, you can register for the online card from that website that I showed you, lib.de.us. This is the form that you will find. You'll see there aren't that many boxes to fill in. All but one is mandatory. But once you complete this form, you'll see at the bottom left-hand side is a little button that says register. You click on that and immediately your card is activated. Now, of course, you will not be issued an actual physical card, but you will be issued a number. You will have your PIN, and you'll see on this form, there is a place where you decide what your PIN is. So make sure you write it down unless it's a PIN that you know you'll remember. Because you will need your PIN and that number that is issued to you. But remember, it is activated immediately and you will get confirmation of that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the services now that are available to people. One of which is reference, and that's Ask a Librarian. If you put in Delaware Ask a Librarian in a search engine, you would probably come to it. If you went to that website, lib.de.us, you could also find Ask a Librarian. Ask a Librarian, you might want to know what the capital of Poland is. You might want to know the difference, getting back to what Dean was talking about, the difference between baking soda and baking powder. You might want to know why my library card isn't working. Where is my closest library? You can ask a librarian anything. And there are librarians who man the computer hours each day. And there is a very quick turnaround, if not immediate, in answering the question. It may not be immediate, but there's a very quick turnaround. To access Ask a Librarian, you know this, I don't know that you're going to need your card for that. That's a terrible thing. I don't know, but you know what? Thank goodness I've given my contact information. Anybody who wants to know can contact me and find out. The second is libraries now offer Wi-Fi in their parking lots. So, yes, so somebody who does not have connectivity can go to their local library and within, you know, the outside perimeter, for a number of feet, I mean, a parking lot, they can access Wi-Fi. So that's a nice thing that libraries are doing. And it is available, I believe, at all public libraries. And if not all, it's just about all of them that are offering that. Yes. Okay. So resources, what do we have that are downloadable, things you can view and access from a variety of devices?
Now you're speaking our language.
we are, I am. Now to access these, remember, you will need your library card number and your PIN. So remember that, get that online if you don't already have a card. We have digital books. We have audio books. We have magazines. We have reference. We have music. We have movies. We have homework help. We have recorded programs. We have virtual live programs happening in real time. And we have business and career opportunities. And information. It is. So you can see libraries, they've changed the delivery of services. They haven't stopped providing services and resources. So that's why I say libraries were pretty well poised to really just continue. I won't say without
a virtual economy.
Right. Okay, so one of the resources is Overdrive. Now you'll see that Overdrive is ebooks and audiobooks, and they have children's books and adult books. So all kinds. For this, you do have to set up an account within the library system with Overdrive. Again, not a hugely difficult thing. If you run into any trouble, remember, who are you going to call?
Ask a librarian.
That's right. That's right. And the next one we have is hoopla, and that's the one that you mentioned, Claudia.
Yes. What's all the hoopla about hoopla, Marie?
There's a lot of hoopla. People love it. Why? Because they
Yes.
can find movies and music and audiobooks, ebooks, comics, and TV shows. Who could ask for more? And you can enjoy them on your computer, your tablet, your phone, and even if you're technologically advanced and have a smart TV, on your TV set. So,
Oh, so you could cast it from your phone or tablet to your television.
yes, you can.
Wow.
You can.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So again, you need that library card to do it, the online number, or if you already have, the online library card. Now remember, you do not need to do that online library card if you already have a library card.
A library card, yes.
Remember that. Only for people who don't already have one. Of course, good old magazines. I love
Yes.
magazines. So Flipster offers magazines for adults, teens, and kids. There are no holds, no limits. That's something that has great appeal for library users who have wanted a particular book or item, maybe CD, and somebody else has it. So they have to put a hold on it and wait their turn for it, wait for that person to return it before they can check it out. And there are no limits. There are limits even in the library. There are a lot, I mean, like 100 books, something like that, at least was before COVID-19, but no limits to how many you can check out, view. This is something I think parents will find very useful, as will students. UD Live Search. So what is that? It's a collaboration between the Delaware Department of Education and University of Delaware. And it provides magazines, newspapers, journals, and encyclopedias. Now these will have more of an academic nature to them. And let's say the magazines you'll find in Flipster, or some of the items that you'll find in the other electronic resources. Now for this, it's not a library card that's required. There is a password. And the password can be gotten from your local librarian. You can call your, because libraries are staffed. So, you know, you might be able to reach them by phone, possibly not now, but it's possible. But ask a librarian or call your school district. Now, this is available to all public schools, charter, and also homeschoolers. K through 12, right, they have materials. So something as our children are working at home to continue their school studies, this is a great resource. And again, no charge to any, there's no charge to any of the things I have mentioned so far. Everything is absolutely free.
Okay.
We also have Learning Express. Learning Express offers practice tests, exercises, skill building courses, ebooks, and information. So it's great to say that it's a great resource to achieve the results you want at school, at work, or in life. So again, not just for those of us who are in school, but those of us who are now home maybe and not other things to do, it might be fun to take a skill building course or look into some of these things, you know, just to pursue some interest or just to satisfy curiosity.
And it's funny you say that about Learning Express, because a few years ago, I brushed up on my Excel skills with a free course through Learning Express, and it was great.
Right, exactly. Thank you so much for that. Okay, we also have online and virtual programs. So even programming hasn't stopped. One of the big ones that happens every year is our Summer Reading Challenge, and it's not stopping this year in spite of COVID-19, right?
Yes.
So you can register, and the reading program is for children and adults. There is an adult component for this.
I did not know that, Marie. That's exciting.
Right. It is not just for children. So there is an online registration for it. Some libraries, as they begin to open up, and again, there's no hard date for any of this, that may be a way to do it, but may not. I don't know. They may, if you call the library, have some, but there is, if you go to lib.de.us, you will find registration for the Summer Reading Challenge. So it's great because, again, it promotes learning during the summer. It sharpens literacy skills, encourages reluctant readers, fosters a passion for reading, and it's free. And
our favorite word.
That's right. That's right.
And I love that picture. It's like Puss in Boots and books.
Right. And this year, the theme is Imagine Your Story. So can you imagine what this year's story of our lives is? Imagine our story.
Yes.
We've got some story to tell, don't
Yeah.
we? Yeah.
That we do.
We also have story time. Libraries have it. So let me go. On the website, lib.de.us, you will also find a calendar of events. That calendar will show you what is happening at public libraries throughout the state every day, what time, and just what that program is. Some of the programs require registration, others not. Now, registration, it doesn't really mean anything. They just want to have an idea how many people are coming, that kind of thing. Library cards are not needed. Anybody may attend. They also will offer programs on things like Facebook or Zoom or YouTube. So if you just yourself look for, like Lewis, they do a lot. Lewis Public Library has a lot of story times. Their children's librarian, Miss Jen, and they use YouTube for that. So, but other libraries are using these other things. Some are recorded, so you can view them at any time at your leisure. Others happen in real time. But that calendar at lib.de.us, you look for the calendar of events, it will tell you what is coming up each day, each week. Other programs, there are programs, of course, for all ages. We have performers doing live and recorded programs. Legos and other activities made me think when Dean mentioned STEM, libraries are big on offering STEM programs. So they have just a multitude of programming. Book groups for adults and for kids, discussion groups. There are several libraries that have what they call food for thought, and it's where a question that the group decides on what question they're going to talk about for that session. And they talk about, there's, I don't know, like a 2-minute limit for each speaker. You take turns, you can speak more than once. There's another group that's called the Socrates, where again, a question is posed. So if you just enjoy a discussion, there's no pressure to speak. You yourself will not have to. You can listen. You can speak. It's just very a respectful way of meeting and talking about just issues, things of interest. And of course, there's crafts, knitting, and cooking. So again, you want to visit the online calendar to see what, when, and find it. Registration may be required. And it's shown on they use a variety of platforms for these. A big program, not just for the summer, of course, and not just for COVID-19, is Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And this, for the first time, is being offered, it's being offered, piloted in 5 school districts. It actually has been in Delaware for about 5 or 7 years. As a matter of fact, I began the first Dollywood Imagination Library program, a partnership of my local library, Friends of Our Library, and our local school district. But now it's being offered at these 5 school districts. Altogether, there are 13 public libraries participating. And let me take a minute and just explain this. This is a program that is for children birth to 5. So the day they turn 5, they age out. But if a child is registered for this program, they receive a book every month sent to their home, free of charge to the family. That book is age appropriate, picked by a blue ribbon panel, and matched for that age child. And that child can add that book to his or her home library. If there's more than one child in a family within the age of birth to 5, as many children in that age group will receive a book. They will not receive the same book if they are of different ages, because the books are geared for a particular age. Every month, they get a different book mailed directly to their home. Not only does this increase literacy and sharing, so for families, parents, and children to share a book is a wonderful thing. I know from having done that with my own children, but it's also a fun thing for the child to get something in the mail, so it's really something to look forward to.
Especially during COVID.
Right, exactly. It adds to the excitement. So I get the registration, lib.de.us. find the registration form for it. We'll have to look, remember. It won't be just on that front page, but those drop down that I showed you, the menu going across, you'll find it. Again, contact Ask a Librarian, or at the end, if you need to contact somebody, you can always email me. I only come back to this because I want to remind everybody that although there are some things that you can take advantage of without a library card, to gain full benefit of the full complement of library programs and services, you really do need a card. I want to say one more thing about the online card. Once libraries open, and I feel sure you'll want to take advantage of more opportunities that libraries offer to actually go to a library, because as much as these online things are great, we love them, they're convenient, especially now, but all the time, there also is something to be said about walking through the aisles of bookshelves and picking out a book, or going to a program and sharing it in real life with other people and seeing that performer in real life, whether it be a storyteller or a magician or a singer. The libraries have all of those kinds of performers.
Music classes for toddlers. Exactly. Yes, arts and crafts. I agree.
So once this does happen and you can get back to your library, all you need to do is go visit the library and let them know that you have the online card, but you would like now to get the traditional real card or the tangible card.
Yes.
So get that library card. And just again, to remind you, lib.de.us. I know I went through an awful lot of information, so feel free, and I hope you will take advantage of going through this and just taking your time to look at all that is available. Also, this has a map of all the libraries. It also will tell you what buses go to what libraries for those maybe who would like to take a bus to get to the library. So this site is really a very robust, comprehensive site. Lastly, I'd just like to say thank you. And if you have questions, need more information, of course, go to the website. Watch for your library to reopen, because they will. They're chomping at the bit to reopen. They miss you as much as you miss them.
Yes.
Ask the librarian. Whatever the question, no question too big, too small, too silly, too anything. So ask a librarian. And again, there's my name, Marie Cunningham. My email is marie.cunningham@delaware.gov, marie.cunningham@delaware.gov. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Virtual high five for all that great information.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And of course, thank you, Dean. And listeners, thank you for your time and for joining us on this podcast. And remember, let me just get to my screen. Yes, thank you for listening. So the Brown Bag Parenting Podcast you can listen to it every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. And remember, the most important work you will ever do will be within the walls of your home. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.